Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire podcast. Thank you for coming back to a new episode. Kind reminder that we are on Gnostic TV these days, and all the latest interviews are posted there. My guest today is Tanis Helliwell. Tanis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Claudiu.
I am glad that I have another fellow Canadian as a guest because we are, have a wealth of information and knowledge in various fields, and you are very specialized in fairies and leprechauns and dragons, and you wrote many fascinating books. And I would like to start by asking you, what was your reaction when you became conscious of your gifts at an early age? And also realizing that not everyone can see what you see.
Well, what was my reaction? My first reaction was a feeling of aloneness. If you're a child and all of a sudden you find yourself doing something or knowing something that your parents don't even know, then this makes you feel very alone.
Interesting. And how did you interact with fairies and leprechauns? I mean, were they friendly? Did they mention any reason why you were chosen to interact with them?
Well, I think a lot of children have their invisible friends that they have tea parties with and they talk to and they go play with. But their parents say, "Oh no, this is just imagination, and there is no such Santa Claus." So children learn not to see, and this is an unfortunate event. And then, as adults, we have to learn to see again.
Yes, indeed. And you mentioned elementals in your book and in your courses and workshops. So when we talk about elementals, do you refer to, the vegetables in our garden or a mugwort plant or the stones in our front yard or anything else natural that makes up our environment?
That's a good question. Elementals build everything. So we have always said in science that things are made up of atoms. They're made up of elements. And the elements actually have a life force. So the elementals build the rocks, they build the plants, they build the mountains. They even build our body. We have even a body elemental with a consciousness that builds our body from lifetime to lifetime. And I've written about this in another book called Good Morning, Henry. So, so elementals or the elements make up everything that is in the form world.
Interesting. And I know that some time ago you went to Ireland and you rented a house and which was haunted by leprechauns. And I am curious to ask you, do they behave like a ghost? Do they try to scare people, or they just want to protect their space?
It depends on the leprechaun. It depends on the elementals. It's elementals are just like human beings. You get good ones and you get naughty ones. And I was kind of lucky that I got a good one, Lloyd, and he is a scholar and he studies humans. So I already had a leg up with Lloyd just because I was a human and I could see him. But they can be crafty. They think they're very smart. They like to play tricks on you, is that they see the real us. They see who we have the potential to become. So just like they can grow an oak tree out of an acorn, they can help us to develop our potential. But they don't have kid gloves when they do that. They like to push our buttons so that we grow maybe a little faster on the right path.
And can we add them to our roster of spiritual guides?
We can, just like you have a friendly, you have a guardian angel, don't you? Why
Yes.
can't we have a friendly elemental? And in fact, Lloyd's whole group wants to partner with humans around the world. That is his life work. And he kind of brought me into the fold to be a human who goes gets humans that want to partner with elementals.
Interesting. And do you see Lloyd and all the other fairies and leprechauns and elementals just because your vibration is different than us, than ours, than the other humans? Or what's the distinction between you and others in order for you to be able to perceive them?
A couple of things, really. One is that each of us has a filter that we view the whole world as. And we know, you and I know, everybody knows now that we're 99% ether. And yet we see each other as totally physical.
Yes.
That's our filter. So let's just say that I have erased that filter to some extent. And my work is to help others erase their filter so that they can see again what really is here.
Interesting. And with so much urbanization, are we pushing them outside of their environment and into the leftover forest and nature, or they are still among us in our habitat?
Both and people can create sanctuaries for elementals right in their own backyard. I have an organic garden, or I have organic fruit trees. My flowers are still blooming like crazy. And it's because I love them. If we, love is an energy. And if we love something, we give it energy. And elementals grow and thrive on energy. So that is how we can help them right in our backyard. So I also love to walk in forests and recommend that everybody goes out into the wilds to do that and get fresh air. However, you can do it right where you live.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you. Tanis, I would like to switch to one of your books, which it's kind of close. The subject is very close to my heart, High Beings of Hawaii, because I wrote about Hawaii in two of my books. And I think that it is a sacred land that was illegally taken over by the USA. And it is a testing ground for, companies like DuPont and Monsanto. And at one point, it should be returned to the indigenous people of the land. So, what high beings have you discovered in Hawaii?
When I went to Hawaii, I went as a tourist to have a good vacation in the sun. And Lloyd, my leprechaun friend, turned up. And he said, "Oh, I'm so glad you've come because I want to introduce you to all the elementals that live in Hawaii." And so there in Hawaii, the native peoples, the First Nations peoples, call them the Menehune. And they know all about the Menehune. This is not a secret for them. And most First Nations peoples around the world know about the little people and talk about the little people and feed the little people. It's only us Westerners who have forgotten. So I met all the different elementals, the Menehune, and it turned out that Lloyd, my leprechaun friend, was actually studying the Hawaiian hula tradition. So I got to see how he was making progress. And I also met the ancestors of Hawaii, and I found that I also have a Hawaiian ancestor, which is a water dragon called Mo'o.
Interesting. And I mentioned the fact that the land is not pretty much theirs anymore. And why do you think the elementals have not been able to, protect the islands from the cultural shift that happened with the takeover?
I think we are viewing things once again through our own lens of what is bad and what is good. Elementals are working with the earth and the evolution of the earth. And we were meant to, as humans, we were meant to co-create with them a beautiful earth because humans have free will and a strong ego, mental sense, and elementals are aligned with spirit because spiritual laws and natural laws are exactly the same. So we were meant to be able to co-create together with us imagining the beauty and them creating the form because they're form builders. They create the form. We messed up. Have they gone awry on this? No, they have not. They're still committed to the earth. They keep on adjusting and adapting their way of interacting with humans. So they are now in Lloyd's group trying to become creators like we are.
Mhm.
And different elementals at different times in our history entered our human evolution as hybrids. And I write about that in a book, Hybrids, so you think you're human. And so Vincent van Gogh, for example, was an elf hybrid who came into human evolution and wanted to show in his paintings how they were three-dimensional and moving. So different, they're finding different ways to create with humans. I think that's it. And spirit knows, and I think you know this too, spirit has a plan for everything. So as it looks like a disaster is happening in one place in the world, something is leaving so another thing can be born. It's our life. When we get older, we leave, have a rest in the upper astral world, come back and are reborn again. It's
Yes.
the cycle.
Yes, indeed. And also in the same book, at the beginning, you show the map of the four islands of Hawaii, but Oahu is missing when you place the sacred sites on each of the islands. Why? Was that done in purpose?
No, it wasn't done on purpose. Um, the Hawaiians actually talk about Kauai being the spiritual island. And that's what they think of their four main islands. And so that is my favorite island. Spiritually, it's much easier for me to work with the spiritual energy there. Oahu is a little more tricky because it's more condominiums, more hotels, more modern. So it wasn't deliberate. It is just, I write what comes.
Yes. Yeah, me too. In fact, yes, you're right. So, and you also mentioned the hybrids, and I think when people hear the term, sometimes it's kind of a dangerous field, dangerous, place to go to. Why did you write the book? And I think some of us heard about us as human beings being developed and created on Earth maybe 300, 400,000 years ago from different type of DNA. And I would like to hear your take.
Uh, well, hybrids, yes. Why did I even call it that? I mean, this sounds like a car these days, really. But I've been talking about hybrids for over 20 years and teaching workshops in it. And finally, one person in a workshop, in fact, the whole group sitting at the dining room table started laughing. They said, you have to write a book about it. And we've got the title. It's called Hybrid, So You Think You're Human. So I got the assignment to write the book. And in the book, I talk about 22 possible evolutions that are, some of them are solar evolutions, such as angels, such as the pan hybrid or the dragon hybrid. And some of them are more human evolutions, such as the dolphin. The Greeks have always called the dolphin the man of the sea. That's what they call the dolphin. And if you've ever seen the arms of the dolphin or the whale, you'll see they have all the bones, even the finger bones of a human being. So we have the same evolution. We go back that far, except some of us humans went into the water, some stayed on the land. So there's many different possible evolutions. The ones you're talking about the Anunnaki that Zecharia Sitchin wrote about, that 300,000 years ago, there was there's another planet, and that these prisoners that weren't doing well in their evolution were brought to the earth because we were so primitive and had to become miners and mine for gold. Well, this is very possible. I talk about them as one possible of the 22 possible evolutions, but not the only one. So each of us can have many different evolutions. It's not just our genetic mother and father that we're talking about. It can also be that we are part dolphin, or we're part angel, or we are part Horus being from Egypt.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that this is a very important topic. And I think that what we know about our DNA and our real ancestry is at very early stages. And that in this next 100 years, when we are able to look more closely at minuscule particles, subatomic particles, we are going to discover the importance of these other evolutions.
And do you think that we are able to activate more than just two strands of DNA, as doctors and the scientists think that whatever is not activated is junk? And based on my interviews with other scientists and doctors and shamans, they all say that that's not junk, it's just not activated, but we are able to activate it if we step deeper onto our spiritual path. What do you think?
Absolutely. And you say step deeper into our spiritual path, and I say raise our frequency. Yes, the more that we meditate, the more that we align ourselves with spirit and are good people, even if we don't read spiritual books or take spiritual courses, if we are good people and we really follow the rule of being kind to others, then if we do this, we find that there are no enemies. We look at purifying our own misguided behaviors, misguided thoughts. And as we do this, our frequency just naturally rises, and we start having more synchronicities in our life. And we start having more magical encounters with other realms. So whether we want to call it fairies, whether we want to call it our ancestors, whether we want to call it ghosts, we're breaking through right now, Claudiu, to the astral realms. We're moving into astral realities. There's a bleed through happening in our world right this moment as you and I are speaking. And it is increasing, this bleed through from other realms and other realities, because the time has come for the Earth to be reborn as a conscious planet, and for us, being cells in the Earth, to also be reborn into consciousness.
Yes, and I heard that also the sun is very important in our activation, and a solar flare is needed for those who want to be activated, who want to evolve spiritually. And we are waiting for that. While we are working on ourselves, we are waiting for that solar flare to activate us, even if might cause some damage overall, but it is beneficial for our own reset.
Yes, it is. It is, and we are being reset like second by second. We're making progress. It just there's the struggles between the old and the new. When there's a new forming, a new wanting to be born, the old guard always likes to hold it back. So right now we are seeing, that some people are moving forward with new ideas and others are into resistance.
Yes, indeed. And I think we have to look at ourselves and our lives starting from the early morning when we wake up. Am I going to be the same person at the end of the day? Or I'm going to be different? What I'm going to learn today? How I'm going to transform myself? And this is my measurement, daily measurement. I don't want to be the same at the end of the day. Something has to change within me. Either I learn something new, I read something new, I listened to a new podcast with smarter people than me, I talk to someone like you who can enrich my knowledge and my life. So this is how we should, I think, in my opinion, measure our existence.
Absolutely wonderful. I think that's excellent. And at the end of the day, I'll just tell you what I do at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I review my day and I look at every place where I did really well, and I give myself a mental check mark. And then I look at places that I could have done a little better there, maybe be a bit more patient with someone, a little more tolerant, not so judgmental, maybe kinder, whatever it was. And you know what I do? I forgive myself. I forgive myself, and then I see it perfectly in my mind of how I wish I had acted. And if I do that, I change the thought form. So it doesn't get ingrained in the cells of our body that have to be transmuted at a later time to light.
Beautiful said. So you are working on your epigenetics every single day.
Every single day, you're doing it at the front end. Excellent. I do it at the back end.
Yes, I have to put that in my schedule as well. Thank you. Yeah, and Tanis, usually I ask my guests towards the end of the interview to talk more about their programs, but I'm going to break the mold today and I'm going to ask you about this towards the middle of the interview. You have a workshop coming up and you like to expand on that a little bit more than usual. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's a 6-month program, and people may think, oh my God, that's a big commitment. But it's only a 1 day that they have to meet for once a day in a month. And I'm going to be going over in the fall my 3 elemental books, and I'm going to be looking at the nuggets of what is important in these books that the elementals are teaching us. And as I've been rereading the books myself, I've been discovering that there's layers of teaching that they're giving, and that it helps by listening to the things they're focusing on. They're actually saying, this is something you have to change. So it is becoming a self-help program, reading about the elementals in a very funny, amusing way and about their world. So that's what I'm doing for the first 3 months of October, November, December. My 3 books, Pilgrimage with the Leprechauns, and the new one, The Leprechaun Story, which is Lloyd's autobiography. And then starting in January, we're doing the Good Morning Henry about the body intelligence, the body elemental. We're doing a book on hybrids that we're talking about. And then we're doing one on the dragons. And I'm leading people in guided visualizations so that they can have their own experience. I'm trying to help raise their frequency so that they can internalize the teachings and it will change them in a positive way quickly.
Thank you for sharing that. And potentially you can organize a trip to Ireland with the alumni of the course and introduce them to the elementals of the place.
That is so funny. That is so funny. I did take people on tours to sacred sites for 22 years. That was one of the things I've done, because I wanted to go to all of the sacred sites of the world, the acupuncture points, and meditate there, and our group meditate there, and we open those frequencies again for the planet. But I think that time in my life is over. But we are going to be helping people meet in groups to study these and look at what these worlds mean and their elemental friends mean for them.
Beautiful. So now another question raises in my mind, what place on earth have influenced you more than others? And what was the experience? What exactly you felt and made you go back?
Well, definitely Ireland and England and the sacred sites there. And for a couple of reasons. One is my Celtic heritage. And this is why people are called into their ancestors. They want to follow their roots. And this is a blood call. This is something that's very important for people to honor in themselves, is their ancestors. And so definitely England and Ireland. And then it's not only my genetic physical ancestors I'm interested in. I'm interested in my past life ancestors. Who was I in past lives? And that took me to Egypt.
Mm.
So I've had many lives in Egypt as well. And because Atlantis no longer exists, I wasn't able to take anybody to Atlantis. So that will have to wait for an astral life.
And in Egypt, did you follow the chakra system of the land, or you just went to one or two places?
We followed the chakra system of the land. Yes, and yes, I've taken people on several tours to those places. But if you ask me also about other places, everything has different beauty. Everything is beautiful to someone. And I wanted to go to Japan for many years because I also have Oriental lives, I'm sure, Japanese especially. And Spirit never said I could take a tour to Japan. It had me waiting for about 7 years before I could finally grant my personality wish.
And what about India?
Yes, because my grandmother on my father's side was born in India, and several generations of my family came from Sri Lanka. So, yes, I did take a group to India as well.
Wow, very interesting. Let's turn towards the dragons because you also wrote a fascinating book about them. What's your relationship with them? What type of dragons do you see? And I ask you that because I also included dragons in one of my short stories, which was published in an anthology last year. And, my imagination went wild when talking about them. So I want to know what's your relationship with them.
What color was your dragon?
Uh, you know what? I don't remember putting a color. I just gave them, I talk about them in general and giving them instructions between to take instructions from their world to the 3D world to those that were in need of that type of advice.
Oh, great. That is wonderful. It's wonderful you're writing about this. I'm so happy to hear we have that same link. And well, dragons. Once again, I am told what books to write. I think, the Leprechaun told me I had to write Summer with the Leprechauns, and in 10 years after our experience, I'm told what tours to take. I'm told everything. I'm told, and I follow. So I was told to write a book about dragons, and it was not on my personal agenda. And and I have had experiences on the dragon world, and even 30 years ago, I had experiences on the dragon world and saw myself in a nest being brooded by a mother dragon, and an egg beside me, which we know was going to turn into a baby dragon. And it is the baby dragon who came first of all to the earth when I was doing a retreat over in France a few years ago. And he asked me he said, now you have to write this book. And I had to come get you, but I'm going to now take you to my dragon world and show you also what the dragon world is all about. It was very exciting. Very exciting. The dragon world is at a much higher frequency than the elemental world. The reason so many people feel close to fairies and elves and gnomes and all this is because the elemental world is just a little bit higher frequency than ours. And so their world is the next one we are going to encounter. But the dragon world, if we're here and the elemental world is here, Claudiu, the dragon world in frequency is way up here. And I'm still hoping to write one other book on the Mur people, which is one of the hybrids I talk about in the book. And the Mur world is a little lower frequency between these two. But so it will be easier for me to write because, yes.
So when you say, when you showed, the difference in frequency, are we talking also about different dimensions?
Yes, we are. Frequency, different frequencies also determine different dimensions. And I talk about in another book, which we're not discussing today, I do talk about the 12 dimensions. And these are the 12 dimensions that are in the human world. And our theoretical mathematicians, talk even about the eighth dimension now. So our own scientists have been able to determine there are many, but there are 7 chakras for the 7 form worlds, but then there are 5 more for these higher frequencies as well.
And if I may ask you a very personal question, during your spiritual practice, do you travel to these dimensions? Not physically, of course, but with your light body.
Yes, I do. I do travel to these dimensions in my light body.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. And now coming back to a much more 3D world, I want to ask
Yes.
about the International Institute for Transformation. Why did you created this institute?
Because others asked for it. Once again, unless I'm asked to do something, I don't do it. And I was doing keynote talks in various science and consciousness conferences in Albuquerque and New Mexico and different places. And people were following me and saying, would you please do in-depth training for us? And I'd say, well, come to this week. And they'd say, that's not enough. We want a commitment. So I realized I had to say yes. I love my freedom, you know, and it wasn't so easy to say yes. That was in the year 2000 we started. Our first course was January 2000. And here we are 25 years later, and we're still going. And our mission statement is identical for 25 years. It's to transform ourselves, to transform our work in the world, and to transform our world, and to create ongoing communities of co-creative people.
Yeah, that's commitment and dedication. Thank you for doing all this work.
It's been the best life work I could have been given. I am grateful I've had this opportunity.
Yes. Tanis, how can we become conscious creators of our life? And I know you wrote a book on this subject.
I think you know all my books. Well, I think we have to keep it simple. And you said it very simply when you said every day when you get up, you say, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? We have to use our willpower and align that with spirit and natural laws, which is what I call having right motivation for our actions. So we always follow what we think is the high road in life. There's the low path of getting by, and then there's the high road, which always takes more effort. But that is the growth road.
Yes, and I think what is a drag these days is the world events and the chaos that's encompassing our lives, and it's in a way it's normal to be worried about what's going on, but at the same time we have to keep the balance, not disregarding the struggle of our sisters and brothers in different part of the world. But again, at the same time, we have to take care of ourselves.
Yes, we do. And I personally do not watch TV. I don't read the newspaper. I do listen to our CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company, broadcasts on the radio when I am driving in the car, just to become a little bit current on what's happening. But enough filters in that I know where the wars are happening, because news is 95% negative, and that will lower your frequency. And it's not that I have my head in the sand like an ostrich trying to ignore things. I'm perfectly aware of the things that are happening in Israel and Iran and the Ukraine and Russia and everything. I'm perfectly aware of it. But if I dwell on it, my frequency will be lower. And what good is this doing for the world, really? People need to focus not on their sphere of concern, but their sphere of influence. What can you do today? So it's like, choose something that draws you. If it's the Ukraine, then do something for the Ukraine. But if it's something for your child, do something for your child.
Yes, yeah, we have to think like that, and there's not there is no selfishness in that approach. It's just self-care, pretty much.
Yeah, and focus, if we focus on the job we've been given to do, our energy is going to increase, and we are going to magnetize that energy into the world with more people. This changes the world, doesn't it?
Of course. Yeah. Tanis,
We're,
are you working on any other books these
oh
days?
boy. Oh, it's a bit of a secret. I
Okay.
am I am working on a book. It's a book I started 30 years ago, and every decade I put it down again. And so I picked it up again after The Dragon's Tail came out this year. And yep, I'm working on this, but this could take a little time.
Okay. And as an author, I have to ask you, do you write by hand or you type directly on the computer?
I type direct into the computer, and sometimes I record directly onto my cell phone and then transcribe it onto the computer. And then I edit everything at least 7 times before anyone sees it. And then after that, then it goes to several friends for more editing. Then it goes to an editor. So for those people who think, oh, I'd like to write a book. Well, do you want to take the low road and you just write it quickly? Or do you want to take the high road and edit, 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 edit? Make it as best you can.
Yes, it's in a way, it's a never-ending story and a never-ending process. So at one point, we have to decide this is the best final product I can take to the wall. So yes.
It's true. At one point, we have to say enough already. But while it's still improving, while you can still see it improving. And, yeah, and we are a work in progress. Everybody is writing their own book of their own life.
Yes, indeed. Tanis, aside from all the gifts you already offered humanity, if you'd have the power to give it another gift, what would that be?
Peace.
It's a wonderful gift. Thank you. Wonderful gift. What's your perception of God?
My perception of God. Oh, everything. I think God is everything, creates everything, even working with my thoughts this moment and my voice and hoping that it will align with spirit and what I'm saying.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I'd like to give a shout to the artist who created the painting behind you. Do you know his or her name?
It is a her, and she passed over a few years ago. And oh, her name is escaping me this moment. As soon as we hang up, I will remember it. And that painting is our institute, our International Institute for Transformation painting. Yeah, it's a painting of the earth as I see it.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And do you have any other programs or workshops you'd like to mention here?
No, no, I feel complete. I appreciate that you talked about the current ones, about the 3 months working with the elementals and their teachings, and then the dragons and the high beings of the hybrids in the winter. So I appreciate that. No, I'm living in the present.
Yes, I encourage everyone to get a copy of your books because it's something new, as you said, to learn from each of them. They are written on various subjects, and again, I like to learn as much as possible, even if I understand that the volume of what I have to learn is immense, and I know just a fraction of the humanities knowledge, but at least I do my best.
Thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate your time and your very perceptive, intriguing, and interesting questions. You've really done your homework.
Thank you, Tanis. Any other final words before we conclude?
No, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Visit spiritualinspired.ca, gnostictv.com, where we have our podcast. visit Tanis' website, which we'll have a link for in the description of the video. And until next time, love and gratitude.